What does a wedding cost? That's complicated. And the reason it's complicated is there are so many variables. Let me try to walk you through a few of the key variables and then some of the variables that a lot of folks don't think about. And hopefully this will help you as you plan for your wedding. Let's take the first one. That's pretty obvious. Number of people, number of guests. It's probably the greatest variable you have and the greatest control you have in the cost of your wedding. Clearly, if you're doing an elopement and it's just you and your fiance, that's not going to cost much. Yeah, 300 people show up, it's going to be considerably more. So that's clearly an important variable. And unfortunately, some people don't even think about, they send out their invitations and save the dates, and people have expectation they're coming, and then they realize they might not be able to afford the number of people. Two, the other thing that is really important is types and levels of services. Now, types of services involve all sorts of things. In today's weddings, they can vary everything from photographers to icy machines. Now, the reality is most people are going to have some very basic services at any wedding, but you can get carried away with that as well and rapidly trying to keep up with your friends on Instagram, end up spending thousands of dollars more just for little add-ons. So understanding what you really need in terms of services and planning for those and structuring around those is a great way to manage your costs. But if you really want to have that great video or that amazing dish at your wedding, then, and you can afford it, you ought to go for it. It can make amazing difference in your wedding. Third, one of the things that folks often don't necessarily think about is where they're getting married. The place that you get married and where it's located does drive costs. You know, the average wedding in America costs somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000. Most are do-it-yourself, and venues out in the middle of North Dakota cost a lot less than venues inside New York City. So location, location, location drives much of your costs. Now here in Loudoun County, the average wedding's about $60,000. And many people freak out a little that that's almost double the average, but it's just a function of the cost of living in the Washington, D.C. area versus more rural areas throughout the country. So you want to get married in an area, make sure you understand the costs associated with it. I'm going to go now to one area that people often overlook, and it's what they miss on pricing. Here's the deal is when you go out and you first get a venue and then you get a coordinator and then you're getting DJs and photographers and videographers and florists and cake and you name it, every one of those comes in with a quote that's in a different format and different information. And it's very quickly you can lose sight of the fact that what was quoted and what you get on the invoice can be very different. Not to mention that often you have to pick up the little details in between, like batteries and runners and other types of things. So you have expenses all over the place. And when the invoices roll in, watch carefully because often they include gotchas, where the quote didn't include the tax or the gratuity or the pickup fee or the drop-off fee or the service fee or the cleaning fee or you name it. Those are the things that cause people to end up being over budget by $12,000 to $15,000, which according to surveys is the average amount people under budget. So weddings are expensive, and even if you do something very, very simple, if you're going to feed people, if you're going to have photography and some decorations, it adds up really fast. Now, what I love here at Zion Springs is that we're able to help people deal with that budget black hole right up front. And the way we deal with it up front is all of our pricing is available on our website right from the get-go. You can both see the range of pricing on our website, but you can actually, if you'd like to, go in, and if you know the estimated number of people and what services and level of services you're going to get, you can actually go in and get an exact quote down to the dollar and dime on what would cost for you to get married at Zion Springs. And the other thing I love is we actually will tell you what the average cost is to get married around here for each of those services according to the wedding report. And you're going to see that we're at or below those costs, but you actually get to learn what your costs are and budget up front and not get that crazy surprise 30 days before your wedding when the invoices roll in. That's one of the great stress relievers that we're able to provide here at Zion Springs. But I do want to talk as well about really the most important cost, if you will, of a wedding or your decision about a wedding. And that is the cost of disappointment. What do I mean? For the first 3 or 4 years, we rented out our beautiful valley here to people, and we saw people show up with all their different vendors, a coordinator, and often by the end of the night, we saw a lot of disappointment. It's just really, really difficult to bring together a bunch of folks who never worked together before and expect that to turn into a highly integrated and coordinated event and match your expectations. So what we did was we brought all that together in an all-inclusive format, and we're the only folks in this part of the world that can do that. And it allows us up front to be able to look you in the eye and tell you, we're going to understand what your best day ever is, and we're going to do everything in our power to plan for it, and on your wedding day, allow you to relax and enjoy that experience. That's the big Zion Springs difference. And no matter what you end up spending here, and we can cover everything from elopements up to all weekend weddings, we can look you in the eye right now and be able to tell you that whatever that is, it's going to be no stress and it's going to be your best day ever.